we'll talk about migration. Let's go to... No, Ricky, I'm sorry. Look, the boss said that. We're forking out too much, my old son. Let's go to Steven Woolfe, migration expert and former MEP. Do you think we're forking out too much to migrants? Look at him, he's grinning. How are you, Wolfie? Wolfie!
That's like being back at home, Jeremy. I'm a northerner, so forking out money is definitely something we shouldn't be doing.
How very working class of you, coming from north of Watford Gap. We don't understand you in the Labour Party. Mate,
that's it, Mate, the Labour Party wouldn't recognise the working class north anymore.
Of course they don't. They've never been there. I've told you that great story, haven't I? And Mandelson stood for... Do you know this story? This isn't an urban myth, it's true. When he was standing in Hartlepool years and years ago, and he went for... Do you know this, right? He went for breakfast, and he... he had a cooked breakfast, and there were cameras everywhere. And do you know this story, Ryan? And he said they delivered it to him, and he went, "Oh, I didn't know you had avocado for breakfast." And the bloke went, "No, you stupid idiot, it's mushy peas. What are you talking about, you southern git?" Honestly, avocado? No, it's mushy peas, you idiot. Steve, before we talk about migration, I'd like your view on punk bab Bob Vylan. Big news during this show, actually. Donald Trump wakes up and within 20 minutes revokes their visas. They can't tour in the United States. I don't want that tirade of abuse from Glastonbury, he said, in my country. Well done. Avon and Somerset Police have also come out and said there's a criminal investigation into them and Kneecap. They've looked at video and audio footage. God, we live in a two-tier system, don't we, mate? With Lucy Connolly in jail and these idiots walking free to spout their hate.
Well, we do. And if one's looking at both a breach of the peace, and if we're looking at the Public Order Act and the way that Lucy Connolly was charged, she was charged for inciting racial hatred. And there's no doubt about it that there were two levels of racial hatred by that villain, as I'd like to call him. One was the racial hatred towards the Jewish community with his death to the IDF. But there's another thing that a lot of the media, I'm afraid, Jeremy, have ignored. There was also a lot of white racism towards the British people and people born in this country when he said, "You want your country back, F off." And I'm sorry, but I'm as we say, mixed in family, but I'm English. I'm born in this country. And I may have had some of the same sort of criticism, nasty comments made to me as a child growing up, but it doesn't give me the right to turn around to all those English people and say, "You're not allowed to your country," because that too is racist. And I think we've missed that point in the media. He's actually two elements to this.
Yep.
And whilst it's quite right to concentrate on the element of the anti-Semitic comments that both he and that other group, that I don't even want to mention their names, I think it's also important to recognise he's being racist towards people, and particularly what he really means is white people in this country.
It's really interesting. We're watching a discussion in Parliament. Lisa Nandy looking as frustrated as ever. The government not satisfied with the BBC. I mean, people will say, "Oh, talk of taking aim at the BBC," blah blah blah. Listen. I was brought up, that's what we used to watch. It was the state broadcast. There is no doubt, whoever you are, the reality of what the BBC has become is a left-wing infested... It's obvious to me. They will have known, Steven Woolfe, rehearsals, run-throughs, sound checks. They could have pulled that. They had a trigger warning on demand. I'm sick also, I'm sick and tired of the BBC getting away with it and getting £175 a week or a year or whatever it is out of people and persecuting grannies and granddads who can't afford it whilst backing whatever terrorist group they are that week. They are in the dock as well, but we don't have a government brave enough to do anything, do we?
No, they are definitely in the dock. And isn't it right also that there is a delay on all live streaming?
It depends. Now, some people are going to say to me, I'd love somebody from the BBC. What an idiotic comment that was, as if anybody from the BBC would be listening to this tripe. I'd love to know if anybody can answer that. Ryan will probably Google it. Would that have been in delay? I don't know. I don't know if you're saying no, right? You say he's going to double check. He says the BBC wouldn't have delay. Really? What, somebody
Really?
can F and Jeff? They must be able to, Ryan. They must.
No,
I think all broadcasters have a 7-second delay button.
Yeah, I thought there was a delay button on most things. So if they'd heard those IDF comments,
I can only say from a personal point of view, I've had the delay button pushed more times than probably any broadcaster in the history of the world. So I do think most of them have it, but I just think they will have known. And I do think it's symptomatic of... to me, there was so much publicity about Kneecap and this for weeks and weeks and weeks. Hold on, Phil Dave, come and tell me. I don't care. Just come and shout at me. Come into the studio. I want to know. What is it? Come and tell me. Just do it rough. I'm talking to myself. Tell me. What is the answer? They don't have the BBC. Honestly, wow. Phil, they don't have delay. That's outrageous. Wow. Apparently the BBC do not have a delay. That's not an excuse.
No, it's not. But Jeremy, most channels I thought had a date, but you're right. There's two things about it. They would have known through the practicing and all the pre-rehearsals about it, even if it's not exactly that. But also, I get frustrated, just as all your other people who are coming onto the show, giving live reports or speaking to you. The concern is to me that this government is even suggesting that we will be forcibly made to pay for the BBC through our council tax. So we won't even be able to switch off from hearing things like that. So we're going to be forced to hear left-wing and kind of propaganda, hear the abuse of the British, hear the abuse of the English, hear the abuse of Israelis and Jews. Why should we be forced to pay for that? Even through the council tax.
Couldn't agree more. Now, Phil Dave, who works on this station and used to be a BBC producer, is just running off air and said to me, they do not have those delay buttons because they are supposed to broadcast everything, which is a self-perpetuating argument, isn't it? Because they'll go, oh, we do. But I'm with you. They will have known that was coming. It fits the mould. Listen, you've talked... We want to get you on your expert. I'm just... Please take a breath, by the way, peeps, if you are about to hear what I'm about to hear. An Albanian burglar... Look at Steven's face. With almost 50 convictions, has been allowed to stay in the UK after a judge found that his crimes were not extreme enough, peeps. Zenal Besh's serious and prolific offending saw him jailed for 6 years in Italy. Theft, false imprisonment, which we think's kidnap, and an immigration tribunal was told all this, but he failed to disclose this. But the tribunal said he wasn't really a genuine president sufficient threat, so he was delighted to say you can stay in the United Kingdom. What an absolute joke we're becoming.
This is another of those examples, Jeremy, where Article 8 of the human rights, which can be used by a government to remove people, has been extended so much that it's almost impossible for anyone now to qualify as what is a threat to the UK and what is a danger to the UK. I mean, we've very clearly seen people who are a threat. They have committed rapes, they are committed mass burglaries, they are brutalizing individuals, and they've been allowed to stay because their beard would be seen as different and not allowed in the country that they were going to. Chicken McNuggets, we can go on through that list. But this is one more an example, I'm afraid, of where the courts have been allowed to extend through all the kind of cases that have been put forward by lawyers on behalf of their clients, that it's now de rigueur. It's almost impossible to get rid of anyone. What do you have to do? You know, I was going to say, kill the IDF on stage in Glastonbury before you were allowed to even be exported or deported from this country. I doubt even then they'd probably find some excuse.
Do you think these people, on a serious note, do you think these people who make these decisions, I hate the word wokerati, but I'm just being, to the reality, do they have any clue, do you think, these people, genuinely what the British public think? This isn't just a few people on a radio station spouting off. Go and look at the facts. Get out of London and Islington and go north, and you know this. There are millions of people whose public services are being crushed, who think that they are at the back of the queue, who feel they are having the PISS taken out of them on a regular basis, and that is completely and utterly unacceptable. I don't know whether this Labour government doesn't care anymore, but I don't know whether people in power understand the depth of the anger, Steve.
No, I don't think they understand the depth of the anger, and what they do is they look down upon people and say they shouldn't be that angry, they shouldn't be that stupid, they shouldn't be that thick, to be honest. I mean, I remember being in a debate on the Fabian Society during the Brexit campaign, and it was myself and Tim Weatherspoon. And Anna Soubry was there with a BBC presenter, and they said, don't they understand? These people are thick voting for Brexit. They are stupid.
Did you hear what happened to me? Were you listening earlier at the beginning of the show? What happened to me at my son's private school, Lord Wandsworth College, on Saturday? Thank God he's leaving. Sit down and 1,000 parents and pupils. Quite nice, actually. They bring out, what's that guy called? What's that guy called again? Andy Zaltzman. Apparently BBC News, no idea, bald head, lots of spiky ginger hair. First 3 minutes he was funny, and then he said, he basically, I'm in the front row looking at this bloke, and then he starts lecturing 11 to 18-year-olds. Donald Trump's an outrage. Brexit was a complete disaster. Your parents and grandparents have let you, the next generation, down just because of odd-shaped vegetables. It's coming back to me now, the speech. Net zero is what it's all about. We need to let people into our country. As I left, I mean, appalled, genuinely, at the end, the Deputy Headmaster goes, what did you think? I said, I thought it was absolutely bloody awful. Why? Because I thought it was one-sided and it's indoctrination. It seems to be the trendy thing to do. And I wanted to stand up, Steve, and go, you know what, Mr Zaltzman, you're against private education. I happen to make that decision for my son. But I bet you're taking a sizable fee today, you hypocrite, aren't you? Honestly, unbelievable.
Absolutely, and that's what they are, Jeremy. They are big hypocrites. They'll send their children to private school whilst we're denying it from others if they can, if not living already in decent areas where they've got a good school. And we see that through the Labour Party. They're sending their wealthy children who can pay £500-600 a ticket for Glastonbury to go and laugh and cope with somebody who actually despises them on the stage. He's turning around and actually laughing at them. I'm black, you're white, you're the ones who are clapping me. They just don't get it. And all the time they think that everybody else around them who's not part of their little claque and cliques in London are stupid and thick. And when it comes down to the law, that's what they're doing. They're just not knowing what people's anger is about. And if they do, they don't care.
Mate, it's always such a pleasure. I love having you on. Thank you. The excellent Steven Woolfe, migration expert and former MEP.